Hey Coram Deo, it's Thursday, May 14th. We're functionally halfway through the month of May, and here is your daily briefing. Behind me, you see this amazing pile of food-related items that you guys have donated this week for our friends at Mission Church to hand out to hundreds of kids in North Omaha. Thank you. This is an evidence of God's grace to our church and God's grace to the city through you. And so thank you so much for stepping up and helping in this way. In this briefing, I want to talk with you more about our return to worship in this building on May 31st. So let's talk about that a little bit. So as you know, on May 31st, we're going to gather back here in the sanctuary and also downstairs. And I informed you last week that the way we're going to go about that is to cap the occupancy of these rooms and trust you guys to spread out appropriately, leaving space between each family unit and all of that. In this week's briefing, what I want to do is I just want to be really straightforward with you about the risks and the benefits of gathering together. Here's what I'm acknowledging as a pastor. Our church is very diverse and very large. Some of you want to jump back into worship May 31st, you're going to be here. Some of you have reasons why you might want to go a lot slower, either because of risk to your own person or just concerns you have more broadly. And I just want to embrace, you're still part of our church family wherever you fall on that spectrum. There's no pressure for you to show up. There's just an invitation for you to show up. And I want to be real honest about two of the risks that you just need to embrace as you come back to worship. What we would all like in this moment, what I kind of want is, hey, would you guarantee me that I'm at zero risk of contracting the coronavirus? But I can't guarantee you of that, and you can't guarantee me of that. In fact, my son went to the orthodontist yesterday, and they're now making everybody sign a form that says, you understand that by coming to our office, we can't guarantee that you're going to be safe. We're going to do everything we can, but we can't promise you that you'll be safe from exposure to the coronavirus. That's just a reality of our life now, right? And so I want to be honest with you about, in gathering for worship, here are two significant risks that exist for us that we have to be willing to embrace. Number one is the risk of asymptomatic carriers, meaning people who don't have any symptoms but do have the virus. If current studies hold true, and again, the medical studies are so new in all of this that the data always keeps changing, but so far studies seem to show that 9 out of 10 people who have COVID-19 have zero symptoms. There are 10 times as many asymptomatic carriers as symptomatic carriers. And so here's what that means. It means any Sunday when we gather together for worship, there might be someone in the room who has the virus and doesn't know they have it and isn't aware and isn't showing any symptoms, but they're still carrying the virus. And that risk exists not just in our church building, but at every grocery store you go to and every public place. There's a risk everywhere around you that there are asymptomatic carriers. And that's one of the odd things about this virus is we have to embrace that's one of the risks we're entering into in sort of interacting in public. It's one of the things that despite all the downsides of quarantine, at least if I don't have the virus and no one in my household has it, then I'm safe from it. But in public gatherings, that's just not true. So the first risk is asymptomatic carriers. The second risk is we're in an indoor environment. Now, this is a pretty large room and it has a high ceiling and there's lots of airflow in here. And so that all is helpful. But realistically, indoor environments are a higher risk for the coronavirus than outdoor environments. In fact, globally, worldwide, in all of the tracing studies that have been done, there's so far only one outbreak of coronavirus that has been traced to an outdoor location. The vast majority are indoors. And so again, if we're coming to worship indoors, that's part of the risk we have to embrace. I just want to be honest with you about those two risks because those are two of the things that we're going to have to be willing to say, okay, I understand that I'm entering in with those risks on the table. And none of us can promise that those risks don't exist and none of us should pretend that they don't exist. But with a clear-eyed understanding of those risks, we're going to come back together for worship on May 31st. And again, we're going to do our part to follow protocols and make this a safe and hospitable environment. But we're also asking you to do your part in acknowledging that those risks exist and saying, all right, I know that I'm stepping into this and those things are a risk factor. And so especially if you're older, you're immunosuppressed, there's reasons in your personal health why that would be a way higher risk for you, we want to invite you to stay home. And here's what I want you to know. Our team is working hard right now to be able to either live stream, if possible, or to post the service video as soon as possible on Sunday so that you can either participate live on your computer screen, or at the very least, you can have an almost live kind of experience on Sunday morning. Not just the preaching, but the worship and all of that, okay? So what we're trying to do there is to acknowledge that as we come back together to worship, some people are still going to have to remain distant. And for them, we don't want you to feel like you're on the outside and like you're missing out. We want you to feel like you're pulled in and entering in to what we're doing together, okay? Now, so that's May 31st. That's 2 Sundays from now. We'll make that shift together. And I'm really hopeful and excited about what that will mean. I'm excited to be back together. Even in light of the risks that exist, I'm excited to be in this room, and I know many of you are also. And so I'm looking forward to seeing you in here May 31st at 9 a.m. or 11 a.m. Now, I'm going to take you outside, and we're going to talk about this Sunday and next Sunday real briefly before we end this video. So this Sunday and next Sunday, here's our stage. I'm standing on the fire escape on the back side of our building. This is where we're going to preach from and lead worship from on Sunday, and you're going to gather right out here in the parking lot in your chairs that you bring with you. And down to this end, we'll allow you to park and listen on your FM radio if you'd still prefer to do that. But the weather's supposed to be beautiful this Sunday, and so I hope that lots of you will bring lawn chairs and blankets and just spread out right here in the parking lot as we worship Jesus together. It'll be a little less distracting than what we've been doing in the past and a little better weather. I look forward to seeing you then. See you Sunday.